La prossima persona che invito sul palco a parlarci dell'uso dei dati per il sociale, nella sessione che riguarda co-designing innovation, quindi progettare in maniera collaborativa l'innovazione, è Musyoki. Dov'è? Non la vedo, arriva, eccola, Musyoki. Musyoki, intanto vi descrivo chi è, welcome. È la responsabile regionale di TechSoup Africa, quindi co-sponsor di questo progetto di oggi, e si occupa da 13 anni di informatica per lo sviluppo in Africa, quindi ci parlerà dei dati per il sociale. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to start by saying that thank you very much for this invitation and for the opportunity to connect with all of you. And I want to start by saying that every organization that has spoken before me, they have made a reference to innovations made in Kenya or started in Kenya. I want to say that Kenya is not saturated with innovations. There's a place for each one of you to do something. So don't start looking at other countries and saying, everybody is in Kenya, there's no place for me. There is a lot of space for you to do work in Kenya. And I want you to, today when you're living here, to find an opportunity to come and work in Kenya. Yeah, so I work for an organization known as TechSoup. And TechSoup is an organization that was started about 32 years in San Francisco. And we have partners that are spread all over the world that enable us to do a lot of technology solutions. In Italy, we do have TechSoup Italy that does work and has, in one way or the other, connected to some of most people who are here through the organization. These 70 partners, we have been able to reach more than 1 million organizations globally through our partnerships. And we are an organization that helps other organizations in providing technology and technology solutions and innovations for them to deliver on their program work. In the sector that I manage, which is Africa, we have 4 partners in Africa, and they are all regional partners doing different types of work in East Africa, in Southern Africa, and North Africa, and West Africa. We also have a partner who is based in France that helps our organizations or our beneficiaries in French-speaking countries. I want to focus my presentation on some of the challenges that most organizations have been innovating around, which is problem-driven. In Africa, we have seen a lot of people coming up with solutions or developing solutions because of the problems that already exist, and they just want to solve that problem. The incubation that has been happening in Kenya, there's been very few, the ones that you have seen here and many more, that have been actually implemented and have had impact on social and economic lives of people. Most of them don't go past that. They're good ideas, but they don't make an impact. Some of them, because the donor community, the funding comes to an end after 2 or 3 years, and then that is the end of the project. Others are not long-term. There's no vision for long-term implementation of those projects. Others are not owned by the communities where these solutions are implemented. It is estimated that in 2050, there will be more than 2.4 billion people in Africa. Now the question is, the innovators, are we innovating for that population, or are we just dealing with what we have now? And most of them end up being that we are just looking at short term, solving the problem that is existing now and not 20 years from now. And that is why some of these solutions that are coming up may not see the light of day in a few years. I have picked a few solutions here that have had impact in our lives in Kenya and beyond Kenya and in Africa at large. But I want to just focus on M-Pesa, and not because M-Pesa has reached so many people, but because M-Pesa has done something that is very dear to me, and that is empowering women. We are seeing a lot of a very high growth in terms of most households being headed by women in Kenya. And these women, most of the time, they have families, their spouses have gone away to look for work, or they have separated, and these women are left without any source of income in terms of how to bring up their families and children. M-Pesa has really changed lives. About 2% of households that are headed by women have been pulled out of poverty by M-Pesa. And we talk about M-Pesa, but many of us don't know how M-Pesa works. In M-Pesa, you can transfer money. I remember when M-Pesa was launched, my sister works for Safaricom, which is the company that invented M-Pesa. And she came and told me, you have to use this app. It's the best. You can transfer money. And I remember telling her, I don't want to transfer my money to anybody, so I don't need this technology. But there's much more in M-Pesa than transferring money. You're actually able to pay your bills. And the most important for low earners, you can actually borrow money. And most of these women don't need a lot of money. They actually just need maybe $50 to start a business. And M-Pesa allows you to borrow money and pay it later. And this is how most of these women have been able to change their socioeconomic status by borrowing money through M-Pesa. I would like to share with you some of the stories, success stories that TechSoup has had through partnerships. At the moment, we do have 2 projects that we are designing and co-designing with communities around us in Africa. And one of them is that we are working with Africa Uprising. It's a movement of activists, and they are looking to build a platform where they can communicate, where they can share best practices. And some of them, as you know, get arrested by police, they disappear, nobody knows where they are. They need a platform that it can enable them to stay connected with other activists. TechSoup will work with this community to develop a platform that solves their problems. The process for that is that we will have to crisscross almost the entire Africa speaking to these activists and giving them an opportunity to actually design a solution that works for them. And it's a very complicated process, but it enables them to come out at the end of the day with a solution that will solve their problem. In our idea of co-creating, in some cases, we don't even get to a level where we develop a new app or a new platform. We actually collect all this information, allow the communities to design, and at the end of the day, we search for already existing solutions. If then there are no solutions that exist that can solve the problem, we go ahead and now design a new solution. but the people who are going to use this solution are involved from scratch, from the beginning to the end of the project. And that is what we believe will make such projects very successful. We invite like-minded people in this room to participate in this project in one way or the other, and because it's projects that we encourage many more organizations to take part and make it work. Even as it's a very complicated process. I think one of the speakers talked about co-designing and collaboration. It can be very, very complicated when you have to work with people with different, visions, objectives, missions, and you bring all these people together to come up with a solution that works. But we are happy to bring you on board and work with us. Now the project that I want to talk about today is innovating by use of open data. We have done a project that was very successful in Ukraine. And in this project, which we want to replicate in Kenya, we involved, Ukraine has a law that was passed a few years ago that the government must make data open and available for use by the public. But the challenge is the government officials, the city officials who are supposed to do this work had no clue what open data is about. So when you go to their platform, you find like scanned document, PDF that are not machine readable. So TechSoup worked with other NGOs in Ukraine and government officials to do capacity building and co-design platforms that can be used for open data. And the experience with that is that what came out of that project was that the government officials are now able to do their work, to provide analysis for data. Others, the nonprofit sector is able to bring in other nonprofits to push the government to be more accountable and transparent. And there's a lot of also development that comes out of this, because when you have open data, we also invite innovators to come to these meetings and analyze data and start co-creating solutions that enable development in those countries. We want to replicate that project in Kenya, and this is based on the fact that also the Kenyan government has a constitution that requires all the government bodies to make data open and available for use in their platforms. That has not happened. We all know Kenya is known for very many good things, but there's also a lot of corruption that is going on in that country. And we hope this type of initiatives is going to close some of those gaps that enable corruption to continue and to thrive in those environments. So we will be working with county governments. We will be working with the data activists to train the government officials on how to get data and make it machine readable. After the end of the project, the government will be able to open these data sets. We want to know in every county, how does education look like? How many schools are there? How many teachers are there? How many students are actually going to school on a daily basis? In the health sector, how many health centers and doctors do we have? Are they enough for the communities that live there? In agriculture, how do we support and improve agriculture using the data that is available? And for future decision-making, housing and transport and others, the government will be able to, they'll have this information on their fingertips to make decisions on how to improve infrastructure and health sector and others for future generations. We will also create dashboards and portals that enable anybody who wants to access this information to access that information and analyze it. At the end of it, there will be an open data challenge for people to create solutions, for entrepreneurs to come and invest in some of these ideas on how to come up with technology solutions that will enable these county governments do well in their socio-economic plans. At the end of the project also, we intend to have an exchange program with the Ukraine team. The Kenyan team that will be involved in this, the data activists and the government officials will have an opportunity to visit Ukraine and have an exchange program where they will share best practices with the Ukraine people who are involved in the TechSoup project in Ukraine. Having said that, I would like to say that there's an opportunity for everyone. We are only beginning on a few of these projects in Africa, and I want to personally invite you to come and innovate with us. There's an African proverb that you've heard many times that says that if you want to go far, you go alone. But if you want to go quickly, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go with others. TechSoup invites you to collaborate and go very far in this journey of innovation. Thank you.